What's up? Welcome back to another episode of Enjoy Your Life, the podcast. I'm your host, Farrah Lawless, and I have a very special guest joining me today. He's actually my cousin and someone who I absolutely love. His name is Isaiah Johnson. He's from California, and we're going to be talking with him about his clothing line and the amazing designs that he's been putting out and all of that good stuff. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce you at this time to Isaiah. Isaiah, what's up, boo?
What's up, Farrah? I know I came in too early, but I was very flattered by what you said.
No, don't even worry about it. I'm so happy to have you joining me because I've been watching what you're doing like through Instagram, and I can't wait to talk to people about it. But before we start with that, I want to kind of take it back in time because since forever, I know that you've been sketching and you've been designing, and I remember you used to show me your notebooks anytime we had our little family gatherings. You were bringing your notebooks and you're like, yo, check out these designs. And so I've just always been amazed by you and your creative abilities where fashion is concerned. So tell us a little bit about how you got your start as a designer, and just take us on that journey to where you are now, actually having your own line and, you know, available for purchase and things like that.
I got my start. It actually started, I noticed that I really liked designing when it was actually one day my brother Tyler had drawn a picture, and he was well into art before I was. He was already drawing and things like that, and he drew the picture, and I was like, I think I could probably do better than that. Mind you, he's still way far ahead of me in terms of that, but I started drawing. It really started with the love of art first that sort of progressed.
Wow.
So I started drawing, and then I want to say by like the 4th or 5th grade, I had learned how to sight draw, where like I would look at different pictures and be able to sort of figure out how to draw it verbatim from the photo I was looking at and onto the paper. That mixed with being like a history nerd for no reason. I was always fascinated by like how people dressed and looked, you know, in years past. And this was before a lot of these things were considered stylish. I was, you know, looking at old TV shows for like what sort of went behind how these people dressed and how these people looked. And it just sort of, the two sort of met in the middle. And from there, I started saying, well, I want to, you know, let me practice drawing these figures or drawing these people. And then it just progressed into me coming up with concepts or different ideas popping in my head, and it blossomed into a love of fashion. I didn't really even figure that out until like maybe 12 or 13.
So your clothing line, you have acronyms, which is DCSA. And I'm interested to know, is that how you pronounce the brand, or is there more to that, or what is that?
That's how you pronounce the brand. I feel like if you try to pronounce the acronym, it will sound weird.
I've tried.
And I don't want people like walking around saying that.
I've tried.
You know, so it's pronounced DCSA. It's short for Dynasty Creations Satisfaction Added, which is a mouthful in and of itself, I know, but I've, you know, synthesized it and been working on it for like 8 or 9 years at this point, and it's too far along to change it. So,
well, how did you come up with that name?
I knew that, like, stepping into this field, I didn't want to just like come and go. I wanted to make something that was going to last. I wanted to make something that people were going to want to wear for a long period of time. So I sort of started, I kind of just went through the dictionary one day. It was like, what do I want to call myself? What do I want to call this? And I, you know, just looking it up, and then I found the word dynasty, and it was like, well, how does this apply to what I want to do? And sort of looking at different definitions of the word, because I wanted to make sure that, because it looked nice, but I wanted to make sure that it fit. And it basically means like a person or a family or an individual that sets up a long-lasting legacy or sets up a long-lasting um, entity that can be passed on, that can go for a long period of time. And I was like, okay, that's cool.
Right.
And these are things that I'm creating, so that's where the creation part came together. The satisfaction added part didn't come until maybe I want to say 2 years after that.
Okay.
Where I had kind of stumbled upon, like, I want people to be happy with it. So I just started just writing it out. And that's kind of where a lot of these ideas started, just be writing it out.
Wow. That's pretty dope. Now, I know your designs, they're super dope, first of all. You guys, if you're not already following him on Instagram, make sure you go follow DCSA_official. The designs are super dope. I'm wondering, what was kind of your inspiration? And I know you make them, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you personally do that. That's so dope. But tell us, where do you draw your inspiration from in order to say, hey, this is what I want to go on this piece of clothing, this is what I want this to look like? How do you decide that?
It really does start with what I like to call the dreaming process. So it kind of starts, a lot of it kind of starts with just like an idea. And if it's an idea that I really am excited about, like when it pops up in my head, then it's like something that I'm gonna expound upon and try to like delve into and understand why it is that I find this idea appealing, and why I think other people might want to find appealing, and then from there I jump into that creative process. I know that with my first collection, the Sunset collection that I dropped, I've always been like fascinated with sunset skies. So at random, I'll just pull out my phone and like take a picture of it, and then like save it in a file somewhere so I can look at it later.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is actually really cool. Like, why am I collecting all of these photos? And then I was like, you know what? Going into this first collection, maybe I should try to mimic that with dye and different things like that. So the Sunset collection came about from me just falling in love with the idea of why not put a sunset sky on a shirt, and I feel like that would be a cool way to take it. So it always starts there for me.
The Sunset collection is actually one of my favorites so far. Absolutely love it. When I first saw you kind of putting them out there and showing those photos, I was like, okay, this guy is on to something. So I love it. Absolutely love it.
Terrifying process.
I'm sure. I mean, it's always terrifying to kind of step out on a limb and put yourself out there, not knowing whether or not people are going to receive it, not knowing whether or not you're going to make money from it, or if people are going to like it just like you do. So, I hope you're seeing that return on your investment. And if not, I'm sure that it's not far. Like I said, even the team having everything that you need, everything that you want lined up, it's not far off, because you're really, I'm serious, you're onto something. I want to know, who are some of your biggest inspirations where fashion is concerned and where business is concerned?
I'd say where fashion is concerned, I look at people around me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And for those that know me closely, they know if I personally, I'm naturally like an enthusiastic person. So if you're doing something that I think is dope, like I'm automatically like your biggest fan. So by me being, that overly enthusiastic person, and being that person who really does pay attention to those around me, I pull inspiration. Definitely, I pull it from my family, and namely my parents and my siblings, and it might be different friends of mine. And of course, it can also be like subjective things like art pieces or music or books. Music plays a big part in my whole process. But one of my biggest inspirations, I would have to say, is like my immediate family, because each growing up in a bigger family, everybody, you get to see everybody sort of express themselves in different ways, and I know like who to look to for different things. Like my mom taught me how like different things about styling in terms of not being afraid to take risks and be interesting and not sacrificing your own personal comfort for, you know, somebody else.
That's good.
My dad taught me color theory. We would go to suit stores, and that man can put together a suit like nobody's business. He can pull up a suit and put a shirt next to it and say, "Don't you see how that thread just came through? The color in that thread just came through by putting the shirt up next to it." Or he'll see a color that I don't even see in a suit, and he'll find an interesting way to sort of pull that color out so it's cohesive. You know, my sisters, my older sister, I've learned from her in terms of not like having fun with clothes. Like every time I see her, it's a different moment. It's a different something. Like she dresses how she wants to feel, and it's in a fantastical thing. My younger sister, I learned from her in terms of dressing for your body and dressing for what looks nice against your personal body type, and not being afraid of that. My brothers, I've learned just different ways that they attack different events, and I have my brother Tyler specifically. He takes risks. He's not afraid, you know, to go for, you know, the jewelry and like, you know, bright, bold pieces. My older brother Chris isn't afraid of Prince. He loves Prince,
he is not.
He's not afraid of Prince. So he'll
shout out to KK.
But because he likes it, you know, it's cool. My brother Jade is, I would say the same thing like how my younger sister approaches clothing. He dresses for what looks nice on his frame, what looks nice on his body. And those are just like, you know, some examples of like the different people I say that inspire my my approach.
I never would have known that. And even as you're talking, like, I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, obviously we're family, so I've observed certain things from a distance of everyone's personal style, but the way that you kind of laid it all out, you know, that's fantastic. And it's always a joy when you can draw inspiration from the people closest to you, because you do have that advantage of watching them and observing who they are and how their personality comes through in their clothing and their appearance. And like you said, some people are more willing to take risks than others. Like, you're able to watch all of that, and it inspires you and it fuels your creativity. So thanks for breaking that down. That was absolutely incredible.
Thank you. In terms of business, I think what inspires me more so is, I'll say, work ethic. So I look at people for how hard they work. And so people around me, even, again, this brings light into people, you know, closest to me, and on, you know, on either side of my family. I, you know, grew up in family with, you know, aunts and uncles who own businesses, who, you know, do things for themselves, who work for themselves. And that's really encouraging, because you get to see, like, okay, yeah, it's not that far away that it's, you know, a possibility for me to be able to do these things for myself. Namely, I was sort of raised in a home where work ethic, your ability to work hard, is something to be prized, and something to be celebrated. Like my mom, even to this day, she's really key about time. Time is very important, and making sure that things are together ahead of time so nothing's rushed. So I take a lot of that and implement that into like different shoots and things like that, I'll get a list of all the things that I have to do by what date, and burn through as much of my commitments prior to the date of what it is that I'm preparing for. I love to watch like documentaries about like what goes into large moments, whether it be like for a film or a movie or a show. And I find those things inspiring. I can't really even pin it down to one person. I just find the idea of work ethic inspiring. I feel like people who put in the long hours, who stay up, you know, late nights working on pieces, it kind of pushes me. I remember recently I watched a Michael Jackson documentary, where it was more so a commentary about his Off the Wall album. And all the different people involved in the writing process and the production of the music. They talked about how many times he would go back on a track, or how many times he would say, hey, do this again, or play that again, or just his unwillingness to sort of settle for what it was, and things like that make me want to work harder. You know, people who still, you know, work jobs and things like that, but are still trying to fund their own personal dreams. Like that, you know, it's something to marvel at, and something I believe that everyone's just powdering themselves after in terms of achieving what they want.
I want to know a little bit about your fall and winter collection that you have coming out. I'm not asking for any sneak previews, but, you know, tell us a little bit about that and what we can expect.
For my fall-winter collection, it's a concept where I'm playing with the polar opposite of my previous collection, the Sunset collection, which unfortunately now I did close down because our site's getting a revamp as well to fit this new collection. But you can expect a darker color scheme, something that's, you know, sort of like a colder, a cooler, I'll say cooler instead of colder, a cooler approach to you know, my personal style or styling for shoots. Expect, you know, some a little more bling. I'll kind of hint into that. On the site, there's going to be something shiny involved with the pieces. Expect, you know, I'm doing some things that are a little less unisex than with the previous collection. So there'll be some things for the ladies and stuff for the fellas as well. And there'll be an exclusive piece that I'm releasing that I will get into more detail when we open up the site.
Okay. All right. So for those of our listeners who want to keep up with you and want to stay up to date with the brand and what's new and when the new line drops, how can we stay connected with you?
So you can follow us on Instagram at DCSA_official. You can also find our website at dcsaclothing.com. That's where you'll get like different updates and things like that. And that's like a way to keep up to date with everything that's moving. We also have an email address that I can that's actually linked in our Instagram page at dynastycreations01@gmail.com. And, you know, any positive things you'd like to share with us there, that's cool too. So, you know, it's not hard to get in touch with us, and we'll definitely reach out to everyone that messages us, you know, about different things and different promotions coming up in the future. But keep your eyes peeled because the fall winter collection is closer than you think.
Now, I have one more question that I want to ask you. So here at Enjoy Your Life, we are a faith-based podcast, and so though we have a natural life, and we do things that we do in life, I'm always interested to know how your faith ties back into what you're doing. So if any, is there some sort of connection that your faith plays in being a business owner, or your brand and your designs, or anything like that?
Absolutely. There was a book that I read, and it was actually a gift from a friend, and it's called Entrepreneurs Are Made, Not Born. And one of the things that they said was being an entrepreneur is a very godlike thing, because you're creating an idea, you're bringing an idea forward that wouldn't have existed prior to you getting to it. And I try to keep that idea of like, I'm doing something that's different, that won't be seen unless I put myself into it.
Wow.
And I feel like it's a very vulnerable spot.
Yes.
So if you don't have, that sort of direction or that sort of guidance in your business, then it won't stand. I believe wholeheartedly that, tithing is a big part of, the success that I've seen, and my commitment to that. And my willingness to say, I'm trusting a power bigger than myself to assist me with this endeavor that I'm taking on that's bigger than me. And I feel like keeping that sort of grounded view of I'm taking on something that I do need guidance, that I do need assistance, because it is, I'm giving of myself, physically, emotionally, and like on these different levels, then I'm expecting, to see a greater return in terms of, what I'm putting into it. I feel like if you keep that connection or that sort of mindset going into it, then you won't get cocky and think that you did it all by yourself.
I love your perspective on that. Isaiah, I'm so thankful for you taking out the time to chat with us here on the Enjoy Your Life podcast. Thank you to the listener.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you to the listener for tuning in. Make sure you give us a 5-star review, leave a comment, and let us know what you thought. Make sure that you connect with DCSA on Instagram. Check out their website, and make sure that you're tuned in, because I'm thoroughly convinced that this new collection is about to be fire, okay? So make sure you guys check that out. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Enjoy Your Life, the podcast. I'm your host, Farrah Lawless. Tune in every Monday for a new podcast. Check back every week for a new blog, and just stay connected for some inspiration. And also be sure to share the podcast with a friend, because friends don't let friends not hear good podcasts. All right, until next time, I love you and God loves you. God bless. When you find happiness within, no place